The Sharp End of the Edge, written by Glen Matthew Smith, narrated by Glen Matthew Smith. Chapter 1. A siren screams out into the night, a banshee howling and wailing to the dark city. The city is a wild and feral animal, always hungry and consumed by its own rabid thirst for more. A smoky stream sips the skyline almost as though it's a pyre haunting the burnt-out dreams that were once alive. Lost souls that were once attracted to the promises and hope that the illusion fools us all with. Tall buildings loom as testaments, their shadows slither through the streets with searching and desperate fingers from a darker place. They are silhouetted gravestones that rise up to the sky. The only epitaph to greet them is the sound of sirens stirring from the rotting infestation below. Occasionally a gunshot rings out and that echoes that another is dead. Another lamb fed to the ravenous thing that is the city. Its hunger is never fulfilled, and as it grows the hungrier it becomes and the more it will feed. The city is alive, and will consume us all, and when it is done we are left as nothing more than waste and dirt. It is a monument that slowly becomes the walls that entrap you. It is a maze that will make you lost, a lie that will become the only truth. It will give you worth, spit you out, and tell you in the end that you are nothing. It is a seducer, tempting and provocative, always teasing. It is cold, it is a killer, it is life and it is death. I saw the beast for what it was. I looked straight into its beaded, seedy eyes. I have been in its belly, its true vile soul. I tasted its inky, putrid and poisonous blood, saw its facade of metal and concrete for what it really was. In the end, the broken machine will break you too. When you spend enough time on the streets, you get to see all that feeds its throbbing veins. And I did my fair share of time. I tried to be better than the city. I had a badge, a gun, and I went to work. I was the best damn cop they had. Yeah, I did my time all right. I cleaned those streets up real good. I was so good, in fact, they took my uniform away, gave me a nice little office and called me a detective. I even got a new shiny badge to prove it. But the city, this goddamn city ate me up. It eventually reached in and tainted the very depths of me, and I began dispensing my own justice. I became as dark as this dirty city. I would find the guilty, and I'd punish them bad for their sins. I would take anything that this awful city could spew out at me, and I didn't just give them a nice pair of matching bracelets, a pat on the back, and a night's free bed and breakfast. I gave them what they deserved. They all had to pay the debt of their sins. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't the type of cop that would beat somebody up with a truncheon for jaywalking. Don't doubt for a moment that I dealt with the lowest type of crime that a human could. Most of the time a blind eye was turned when they got back a little bruised and bloody. Nobody got them like Jack did. That's me, Jack Sharp. Just an honest, hard-working policeman. Well, that's what I was. But beware thou who should judge, for one day you too will be judged, as I was. And beware thou who should punish, for you too will be punished. The two-headed serpent came and bit me back. They say you only dance with the devil once, but I've been dancing with him all my life, and I have wept for it. I wept till I was empty, and I replaced that hollow void with something bitter that the city had boiled within me. I had been chasing Merville for 2 years. Merville Meek had been my main suspect in a cold case, rape and murder. That was his profile. The dirty bastard, I knew it was him, and he knew I was gunning for him, so we played a game of cat and mouse, and the mouse disappeared down some hole in the city somewhere. I caught up with him though, and I dragged him down one of those dark alleys where the dirty infected vermin belong. I told him what I thought of him. I told him I knew the truth, and even if I could not prove it, the truth hurts. And I made sure he felt all the pain of it. My lucky cards were not up that night, none of my aces, and the Joker was in his corner laughing when some wannabe journalist stumbled past and started making a career for himself. The city's finest, caught red-handed, literally, so to speak. I'm caught on camera painting a picture of the scumbag's face that would have made Picasso proud. The next few days the papers explode, and my name and picture is everywhere. The headlines say things like police brutality, and my favorite, justice is served. So they take back that shiny little badge, the cozy office, and the fancy title. They wanted to make an example of me, make me their dupe, the little fall guy, show that the police are trying to clean up the messed up city by taking out their own trash. They take my pension. They give me no handshake, no golden watch, they just show me the door. Somewhere along the line, everybody seems to forget that the wily beaten up scab feeling sorry for himself in that hospital is a killer. And yet again he walks away, smiling to himself from beneath those bandages. Yeah, sure. In this city, justice is never really served. I hit the bottle. I drown in self-pity. I become the maggot that infests the rotting wound that is my life. But this city isn't going to get the better of Jack. Nobody gets Jack Sharp. I get myself a nice new badge, a license that says private investigator. I rent the cheapest, dustiest, and most stinking office that next to no money can buy. So here I am, sitting alone with a bottle in an unlit office in the middle of the night, toying with the demons in my head. A blue, hazy neon light flickers in from the street. It has a calming, meditative effect on the empty room, a blue melancholy that flows in like an electric current of cool, persuading waves. The office looks better in that light. You don't see the peeling paint or the faulty floorboards. You see what could be an office. That is, if one chair and an old desk and four walls are what an office is. The sound of piano keys and the saxophone softly drift in occasionally from a bar somewhere. The whole ambience of that light, music, and dreams of what could be are rattled by the whole room shaking as another train howls past. The tracks are right next door. The trains come often to shake my cheap little office walls, and occasionally one would cause some plaster and paint to come falling down from the ceiling. It is all poetry, my world slowly crumbling in on me. There is only so much ambience I can take, and I decide to get some fresh air. So I take the bottle along with a pack of tobacco and go see what else the city has to say. The neighborhood around the office is mostly derelict. The buildings that aren't abandoned are warehouses or getting ready to be boarded up. It is quiet during the day, but at night the nocturnal beast begins to stir, and the street has a whole new face. A whole different life. At the end of the street, the source of the music is a strip joint. The curb that stands desolate at day is thriving at night with women dressed to seduce. The ladies of the red light, they're for sale. They give you what you want if you have the money. You can have their bodies for a price, but the city has laid claim to their souls a long time ago. I walk along the tracks opposite. They don't sell what I want, but I decide the bar may be a good stop for a drink later, when I need a drink bad enough. Another block down the road I find the habitat of another creature that lurks the city. A few hooded gangsters hustle the corner. They're selling a different type of escape. Drugs. The type of medicine you don't get from a doctor. The candy you don't find in a sweet store. For the right money, they'd bring you up, It'll take you down, stir you around from side to side, and if you don't enjoy that type of ride, you can buy death, the ultimate escape. They don't sell my flavor either, so I keep walking along the tracks. I have my bottle. The taste of cold, hard liquor soothes me and it keeps me warm like a lover should. I keep walking until those lights and sounds swirl around my drunken mind in a montage of color and motion. Somewhere on the edge of that madness, on the edge of the city, I find a place where the night begins to swallow the city into shadows. A place where the sirens and sounds are distant. A place where I'm neither here nor there. The night stretches along those tracks, broken only by the electric streaks that blur into the distance as another metal train snakes along its path. It howls mechanically into the corners and then is forgotten in the silence. The rail tracks tendril out into dendritic channels that fill into the black mist. They spread out each with their own destination, a past, a present, and a future. 1,000 souls carried daily on a spaghetti of metal, wrapped in the bosom of their concrete confines. Each one with a story, their own tales and secrets, all part of the system. Some have purpose, some have somewhere to be, somewhere to go, some are trapped. Some are lost. They go where they have to go in order to survive. The city will give you freedom, and if you give it a chance, just a single moment of weakness, those concrete walls will encage you and clip your beautiful petal soft butterfly wings. Scuttling between the shadows along the tracks, I see figures moving. But in the blur of my mind, I see a big, dark shadow that just does not seem to belong. An ominous black shape moving slowly across those rails. Through the haze of my mind I figure it's a car, but it has no lights, and besides it does not belong there on those tracks. I watch as I continue emptying all that remains in the bottom of my bottle, first savouring and then relinquishing the sour taste into me. That shadow eventually stops moving and I can vaguely see it expel the smaller shadow, then continue on its path into the night. It finds a road and then the lights come on and it speeds away. Somewhere deep within I feel my senses crawling up my spine. Something rattling inside me, telling me that there's something wrong with the chain of events I just saw unfold. Even in my drunken stupor, I wonder what the little shape that fell from the car is. I feel an old curiosity burning like a flame from inside, an old habit that I still kindle. I guess you can say it is a policeman's instinct, some kind of sixth sense. Whatever it is, something gets me to my feet and moves me down that dark abyss to find out just what it was I'd witnessed. In what can only be described as a series of stumbles, I kick a slow trail of dust through the sand, the city lights diminishing in my wake. I stagger almost blindly over the first couple of rail tracks. The third one lights up, and in the same instant it screams pure light and noise at me as I almost walk straight into a passing train. Like a bad dream on a hot summer's night, it is gone as quickly as it had come, tearing a storm of wind and sand behind it. Rattle, 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 click, clack, click, clack. They say you see your life flash before you when you are about to die, but all I see is other people's faces staring out at me as that train speeds past. At that speed they're all eerily distorted. I'm thinking the demons have finally come for me. I take a minute to pull myself together and start checking my flanks like a good little schoolboy trying to cross the road on his own for the first time. Look right, look left, look right again. This is the way we cross the road, cross the road. I rummage through that blindness of night and tangle of tracks, and almost by some fluke I find that suspicious little bundle draped over one of those rails. At first I see pale limbs glisten in the dull moonlight. They are lifeless, thin and ghostly. Looking closer, my eyes still adjusting, I see them protruding from a creased-up cotton dress. Almost in disbelief, my eyes search the contours closer, trying to calculate it all in my mind, and eventually I find the face, her face. Long raven hair streaming untidily across it, her soft blue lips kissing the crisp evening air. I've seen it countless times before, and I lean down, my mind still working like a clock. I can feel its gears and cogs slowly turning, the seconds passing with the thoughts twisting in me. I gently wipe the loose strands of her hair neatly to the sides of her face, and she looks up at me through those dead eyes. A beautiful dead girl. I can feel that poison boiling in me again, the anger inside bubbling bowl into my soul. I've seen so many wasted lives in puddles of blood, and you never get used to it. Beautiful young girls shouldn't be out having their corpses dumped into the middle of the night in some abandoned rail yard, even in this god-forsaken city. I pull my phone out. I've got to call this in. Then I pause. There's a familiar rumbling in the background. I turn just in time to pull myself back and drag her body off the line as another train shoots past right where I was standing, its horn screeching into the night. A thundering cacophony of lights and noise takes over, and then, with a whip of wind that almost reaches down and drags your feet from under you, it is gone again. It is my second lucky escape in as many minutes, and I'm beginning to think I'm not lucky enough to take any more chances on a third attempt. I make the call and plant myself down just where I am. The blues and twos will be here soon enough. While I'm waiting with nothing but my new dead friend, another broken dream to keep me company, I decide to give the scene the good old Jack once over. I take a few pictures of her with my phone. I use its light to search for anything that could tell me something that could be told. Her hands are dirty, as was pretty much most of her lying there in that dirt. Her feet are filthy too, and she has no shoes. Her body is not bloated enough to make her time of death much longer than a day. She has no visible obvious cause of death. It isn't easy to see bruising or fractures on the body that is beginning to decompose in the dark of night. Even in the early stages, the fluids are trying to escape and cause their own bruising and swelling. There is no blood gushing from any wounds, no telltale stains on her from any blood loss, just a dead girl, a mystery surrendered to the night, sacrificed to the city on a cold steel rail. I sit back down, light a cigarette and let the smoke kill me a little more while I wait. There's nothing else I can do but sit there watching the trains go by, thinking about what happens to curious cats. It seems like hours have passed by the time the first blue lights show up. Hell, they leave me out there in the middle of that field with those trains buzzing around me for longer than I cared. My throat is dry and my tongue is beginning to scratch my mouth from the grit I'm spitting out. My bottle is empty and even the cigarettes have stopped helping. They leave me stranded out there in that deserted junction of railway lines while they shine their spotlights on me and talk in their radios. Eventually the trains stop coming past and the flashing blue lights start working slowly closer to me over the tracks. It is not long till the dead girl and I are finally surrounded by uniforms and are officially a crime scene. I give my name and statement. Most of them know me. It's a smooth process and I'm about to make my departure to the nearest bottle I can find when I hear an annoying voice I could have done without tonight.
Hey, Jack.
I turn around knowing I'm about to see the two most inseparable sorry excuses for humor the department has.
You gonna leave without saying hello, goodbye?
I call them the Tweeds. I've been calling them that for so long that I can't even remember their real names. Maybe it's just their bad taste in suits or just everything about the way they look and act that grates me. One thing is certain, I don't care much for these two clowns. The one talking is the tall, skinny, not-so-silent type who has a whole lot of nothing to say about everything. I just stare him out. Tired is a language on its own.
Well done on saving a dead girl, Jack.
That's the other Tweed. The shorter one of the bad imitation of a Laurel and Hardy show in front of me. A real couple of stooges. He chortles at his own joke then settles down when he realizes he's the only one laughing.
You got a job yet, Jack?
He adds this to hide his own embarrassment, to deflect the attention back to me. There's probably something Freudian about it all I could read in a cheap psychology book. I stand there cool, calm, and quiet. I don't know if I have the energy for these two rigid-ass comedians.
I hear the supermarket on 5th is looking for security guard.
The taller Tweed adds helpfully.
Oh no, he couldn't do that.
The other one interjects almost protectively. I'm waiting for the bad punchline.
He'd shoot all the fruit and vegetables for looking suspiciously rotten.
He blurts it out, almost unable to contain himself. This does get a response though, and the uniforms all turn and laugh. Some have the decency to look away again. Screw you guys, I bark back, and turn and leave them to it. The sad bastards had probably been rehearsing that joke for days. I was right. I don't have the energy for them, and more importantly, I'm thirstier than a dried up husk.
Don't leave town, Jack.
He yells out behind me. That one, I must admit I was not expecting. The city really is full of surprises tonight, and the night is still young.